even though this life gets tough, said you gotta keep fighting. And even though it gets hard, it's gonna get hard. You gotta keep striving. But you gotta keep striving. Through the fears and the loss, but the tears won't turn off. No fears, your heart's crying. Hold on to his words. Lean on him, it gets better by and by.
The toughest war you ever face will be domestic. It's elementary, it's been this way for centuries. Cold War was raised against us. Take off them blinders, you will see. That it ain't about them gas prices, it's all about who whip the nicest. All about them deals on bundles, Harold Fleet don't make them up. Face beating red bottoms, dead beats we hear about them. Fitted up from head to toe, but never at their children's door. Wonder why they dying by the dozens, but it's simple, yo. Just listen. It's time we stop ignoring facts. It's time we take our family back. Fix the root and then attack. Stop making moves without a plan. Control emotions, then we stand. Calling on my kingdom and to come together. Take this land. We gotta fight, our future depends. Get the head back in order, cause that's where it begins. Invest your all into your garden, water the roots to the end. Nurture the family tree and let the fruit feed all men. Just listen.
Welcome to another episode of A Mile in My Shoes, where we ask the question, how can we say we know someone if we've never heard their story? Tonight, we have a very special guest in the building with us tonight. A man who is a pillar of the community, a man who has touched the lives of many, many across the nation. Somebody who I'm extremely honored to have a conversation with and sit back and listen and learn from the things that he has experienced in ministry, in family life, as a husband, father, leader, pastor. And I'm excited, y'all. I'm going to give y'all a second to tune in, but without any further ado, I would like to welcome Pastor Donnie Bolden Sr. himself is in the building. How you doing tonight, Pastor Donnie?
Doing great, man. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity just to share my story, on your program. I just consider it an honor, man, what you're doing, for the community and everything. And God is really blessing you. I see a lot of things happening. And I just thank God for that, because this is needed. This is needed, man.
Look, I appreciate that. Look, me and my wife have been discussing all week just about honor. And on a serious note, God gives all of us different graces. And a lot of time, to be able to obtain the grace that somebody else has on their life, you got to honor that. So I want to take tonight and truly honor the grace that is on your life, that you sustain 49 years of ministry.
Yes, sir. It's been an expedition.
40.
God has been great.
49 years, Pastor Donnie.
On the battlefield.
I got to pause for a moment, because the majority of the people that's going to be on this live haven't even seen 49 years of life.
Yes,
but
sir.
You sustain in ministry, a thriving ministry.
Yes, sir.
For 49 years. As we sit back tonight, I ain't doing too much talking tonight. Take us all the way back to where it all started, Pastor Donnie.
Okay, we're going to go straight to the beginning. Back in 1968, it started out, Mardi Gras night was a Tuesday night. I was on the front in Abbeville, and I was sitting to the table by myself. And Sister Ann said, hey, said one of the young ladies said, can I bring her home? I said, yes. Tell her I bring her home, but I can't bring all y'all home. She had about 8 of her friends. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay. So I did drop her home that night, and she told me, she said, come by tomorrow, I have something to tell you. And I said, okay. But that next day I moved to Shreveport, Louisiana. But when I stayed there 3 months, but when I came back in town, the first person I saw was Sister Ann on the corner. She said, come by my house tonight. I got something to say to you. I said, okay. So I went and we talked and we hit it off. And that was in 68. So 3 years later, what happened was she had told me, she said, you know, we went to my mother's, had a birthday party. So she gonna tell me, she said, we had got married at that time. She said, I hear something in my hearing. And I say, I say, I hear the song, but I don't hear nobody talking. She says, someone is talking to me. So she said, bring me home. So I said, well, okay, I'm gonna go drop you home, but I'm coming back because the party just got started.
Yeah.
So I went to drop her home. When we got in the house, there were Bible pages tore all over the floor. And I couldn't understand. We didn't have a Bible in the house, but the pages were torn up in the floor. So she looked at me. She said, what's going on? So we both ran across the street to my mother-in-law's house and said, God trying to tell y'all something. And that particular night, God began to work with Sister Ann and on salvation and everything. So she began to do all the things that come with living the holy life. And I couldn't understand at that time. This was back in 1970. So as God was dealing with her, she began to seek God during the weekday, which was unusual because you only sought the Lord on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? That was the old way. Yeah. So I said, well, you're praying? It's Tuesday, and you're praying? She said, I got to pray. So I said, well, okay, go ahead on and pray. So 1975, I planted some potatoes in my yard. And what happened was I asked her to make me some French fries. So she said, okay. So I dug them up on a Good Friday. Yeah. And those things came out looking like little animals. I still got pictures of them. And I couldn't understand. God was trying to speak. He was trying to speak to me. So I told her, I said, well, look. She said, look at these things. They look like little animals. And I began to see it. Now I don't want them. I don't want to eat this. Yeah. So they were on national TV in South Bend, Indiana. And the Daily Advertiser had it, the Alville Marina had it, and everybody, and they called it unusual potatoes growing in Southwest Louisiana. So God was dealing with her. So that Saturday night, one of my friends got killed in an auto accident. And I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, I drive up down these streets 100 miles an hour. I run stop sign, red lights for $1, stop signs for $0.25. And I didn't really care about my life. Yeah. She said, come to church with me Sunday morning. So I said, I'm going to go. But I said, I need something to wear. So my little brother had just graduated. So I borrowed his suit and I went to church that morning. And when I got in church, 3 old ladies came by me and said, son, this morning is your morning. And I said, Sister Ann that tipped them off. I said, she tipped them off. I told her I knew she was going to do that. So seriously. So after a while, I said, well, let me go try it out. And I walked up there and I said these words. I'll never forget it, man. I say, Lord, if you real, let me feel what these people are feeling. What I said that for. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And that particular day, I got saved. And when I went to work the next morning, and I began to talk biblical to everybody, and there was one that, man, what's going on with him? He usually curses out, you know, when you come through the door. And they started calling me Jimmy Swagger. They say, oh, there come Mr. Swagger. So I said, well, you know, and at that time I began to witness to everybody on the job, tell them about the Lord. Yeah. On my lunch hour, I would go baptize young men at the church instead of taking a lunch break. I'd just go baptize them. And we started a church on our patio, which consisted of 8 people. Those 8 people would come faithfully, rain, sleet, or snow. They would come. It didn't matter. And we was on the patio getting wet. It didn't matter. We was just studying the word of God. It'd be raining and they'd be sitting out there. So what happened, my carport, we boxed it in and made a church out of it. So that was our first church right there, the patio. Then we boxed my carport in, parked my car outside, and we opened up a church in my home on that side of the house. And people began to come and it got crowded. At that time, it was too crowded for us, so we moved to the place called the Yellow Tent Building.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how all those people fit in there. We did revivals, and we had maybe 2 or 3 different churches that would come in there, and where they would sit at, and in that building, don't ask me. I don't know how the Lord, I really know that God had to do it.
My wife took me by that building.
Sir?
My wife took me she drove me by that building. That's a tiny building.
Yes. And where those people sit, man, I couldn't understand. I said, that got to be God, because those people, man, they're crowding that. I mean, it was bumper to bumper. And we began to serve the Lord. At that time, I got saved. She was saved already. She had been saved 3 years. So I came right behind. And then we began to seek the Lord on somewhere else to have church.
Yeah.
And we found a building downtown, and we had to bring the piano and everything upstairs, a 2-story building. And by the time we logged all that up there, the man said, y'all making too much noise. So we had to leave out there the very next day. So we saw the building out. We were looking at different places. And one of the churches that we wanted was in the Grosse Ile area, which God had already prophesied to us that our church would be in the Grosse Ile area. So we thought this would be the church. So the guy told me, say, I'm going to sell it to you. But he said, I'm going to tell you what, I'm leaving town and I'm going to put it up for sale, but I give you first choice. So someone out the church told another pastor about it, and he wound up buying it.
Yeah.
And so the guy told me, say, I tell you what, if you really want it, I'll let you have it. I said, no, sir. I said, you got him to have it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I said, don't worry about it. We rode around and we found this church we're in now, which is still Grosse Ile area.
Yeah.
We called the gentleman and he told me, he said, well, look, I want to sell that building. $89,000. That was like $4 million back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, to us, that was like $4 million because we only had 4 or 5 men in church and only 1 or 2 was working.
Yeah.
So what I did, I say, well, you know what? I was holding down 3 jobs, taking care of all the widows, you know, making sure their kids had something to eat, making sure they had a place to stay, paying their rent, paying their light bills, their gas bills. They never went hungry. No kid would ever go hungry, not in this church. I want to make sure of that. And God began to bless. So the man that owned the building told me, he said, I'm going to lease it to you for a year. So he leased it to me a year, and I mean, those months flew by. So I told him, I said, sir, I can't. I went to every bank I could. I say, I applied for a loan. They won't let me have nothing. Yeah. They didn't want to let me have anything. So I said, okay. So we wound up, I needed some people to come back me up at the bank. So the next year, he said, well, okay, I'll give you another year. Give me another year. And the next year, he said, the bank told me I needed some financial backers.
Yeah.
So the third year, I guess he said, well, wait, I'll tell you what. He said, I'm just going on and take the building back and make apartments out of it to make an income off it. So then he looked at me and said, well, he said, you're sincere. I see y'all taking care of the building and all that. You know what? He said, I'm going to co-sign for you. That's how I got in the building. So it was God. Then he left me with all the chairs. At that time, all the chairs were burgundy. Mm-hmm. So he gave me 250 chairs. He gave them to me. He gave me the office desk. He left so many things in there for us to use. So It was just God operating on our behalf. Faith. You know, we was in the Lord house fasting and praying, which was in a December, a January rather. And, you know, it was cold.
Yeah.
And it happened to snow that day. And the sign was, it snowed. And God said it was y'all building, and we still there. We're still there.
49 years.
Yes, sir.
So what are some of the experiences and stories you can tell me? Because I hear you the famous storyteller. Tell me about some of these stories that took place in these 49 years, man. Okay.
A lot of events I remember running revival outside. No tent, just open air. And people coming in getting saved up in Port Arthur, Texas, Nederland, Texas, Everywhere we went, we would leave. We wouldn't pick up an offering. Everywhere we went, we left the money. No matter where we preached, no matter how much money they had, we left the money. You know, we started running revivals. You know, at that time, we not saying immature on revivals. It's just we just wanted soul saved. We didn't care what we had to do. We didn't care how far we had to travel. You know, Sister Ann and I used to travel to Michigan, Benton Harbor, Michigan, preaching the gospel. You know, everywhere, you name it, we did it. You name it, we did it. And some of the times we had to sleep outside. We had the tent revivals, and we would sleep outside. I'm serious, sleep outside. And I was wondering, I said, why all these evangelists got hotels to sleep in? They got airplanes. Why we got to sleep out here on the ground with a blanket and stuff? And the Lord was showing me, say, one of these days, you won't have to worry about this here. He said, these are your trying times. These are the times that I'm trying to see where your heart at. And I thank him for it, because many times we would run out of gas, go and run revival. And I had to call somebody, bring me some gas. I'm on highway this here. Bring me a tire. I had a flat with no spare. And God would send an angel of the Lord to come right by me and say, what's wrong? I got a flat. Well, let me help you out. What I owe you, sir? This prayer. And send them on their way. It was just God, you know. So all those times, you know, Sister Ann had one dress to wear. She would wash it. That's where you get the wash and wear dress. She had one dress she would wash and wear. I had one suit that the leg was creeping up. They called it high waters back in the day. You know what I'm saying? And that one suit, I would wear it every Sunday and one shame to wear. You know? And God said, well, he said, in the latter days, I'm going to bless you if you hold on. And we kept holding on and stuff. I'd rather my lights to get cut off than the saints of God's lights to be cut off. That's how I felt. That's how I was rolling, you know, back in the day. And sure enough, my air conditioner went out on my house and didn't have a dime. Never going to ask the church for anything, because in those days, the church wasn't to supply my need. So what I had to do, I had to take and go and I had a guy told me, say, come by my shop. I'm going to let you have an air conditioner. Don't worry about it. Came, installed it, and put it in. And I mean, man, and because we were having church, so we didn't want the people to get overheated. And God just blessed us. I mean, it was a challenging, prospect that we were doing just for the sake we want to be soldiers for the Lord. You know what I'm saying?
Where did that come from? Where did y'all drive and hunger to just want to have souls saved? Where did that come from?
I think once a person really get truly saved, they want to share.
Mm.
When a person want to get saved, they want somebody else to know. It would be an open opportunity to be in the bus station, sitting down, minding your business, and then they'll say, sir, you how you doing? I'm doing good. Praise God. Are you a Christian? I'm saved, man. I'm sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. Then go to conversation. Now you got 5 or 6 people interested in your conversation. It starts up. You know, we done been on vacation, baptizing people in the Atlantic Ocean. So it's like it follows you. You can't even take a vacation. Yeah. It follows you wherever you go. You're sitting in the lobby minding your business, and all of a sudden you start talking about how good God is, and somebody comes sit. This is the first time I hear something like that. What's this here? And we begin to share it with them. And believe it or not, some young men, you know, when I was in Michigan City, Indiana, and I was witness to these young men, I say, get you a job and save your money. You don't have to be doing what you're doing. You know, you're selling drugs. I say, you're going to get in trouble and you can't get out of it. Yeah. And I would literally give them money to get off the street. Money I worked for, I was a crane operator at Bethlehem Steel Mill, and I would just literally give them money to just a quick selling drugs, get off the street. And that's why our church got ex-drug users in the church, because they saw that love, the love of God, not the love of me, because we're human and we're frail at times. But when you got the true love of God, you're gonna concern yourself with souls. Right now, my message today at the church was about Esther how Esther told Mordecai, put the suit on to go in the front of the king. He said, no, I'm fasting and seeking God for our Jewish people. And she said, oh, I think you need to change. He said, I'm not changing. And he kept sackcloth on. But guess what? Esther turned around and went put sackcloth on and told her comrades, well, y'all put sackcloth on and fast and pray too for the Jews, because she had to speak. And remember, she was very shy. She was silent. But she had to speak to save those Jews. And when she spoke up, the king heard her voice, because God was using. Remember that God's name not even mentioned in the book of Esther, but God was using her in his place. So you never know who you're going to witness to. You never know who gets ready to take themselves out of here or go on. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you got to be prepared. It might be 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if any pastor get out there bed and pray for people. I don't know any pastor receive calls after 1 o'clock. It does not matter. My phone stayed on the line. If you need me, I'm there.
That's the next thing I want to do. I want to talk about, just from me being here for 6 years, I've heard so many stories and actually got to meet a lot of the people that you played a major role in helping establish, change their life. From the heart of a pastor, how do you maintain while pouring into so many different people? Because you helped a lot of people over the years. You might as well say you raised a lot of people over the years.
That's right. That's right. People don't understand ministry. They think a church should be contained with people. I want a church contained with the Spirit. That's it. You know what I'm saying? If I look to see who's missing in action, we're in the war. Because I'm going to tell you something. War people supposed to be having the same uniform on. The enemy got a different uniform from your uniform. We all brothers and sisters in Christ. And see, people don't realize when you fight in a war, the devil got disguises.
Yeah.
And he uses those disguises to come and say, well, I'm with you. No. Let me know. And I'm going to tell you how it is. When Job's wife told him, why don't you just curse God and die? Because you're not the same man I married. But Job let her know, woman, you're talking foolish. He mustered up enough strength to tell her, you're talking like a foolish woman now. You follow what I'm saying? See, you got to realize, I'm not going to curse who blessed me. Yeah. Because the life I have now is the one that God gave me. That's all I have. I tell people that all the time. I thank God for my life. Many times my life could have been vapored out of here. Many times. But God spared me. And for what? They say for this time, to tell the people the truth.
Right.
At this time, to tell the people the truth.
So, with you having 49 years of pastoring people, now I want to bridge the gap between the younger and the old generation. What is some advice you can give to the younger generation of pastors that you see coming up trying to do it? What is some advice from an elder you can give to those who are trying to establish ministries, those who are trying to build ministries? What is some advice you can give to this generation?
The number one thing is this. Make sure you didn't call yourself. Don't use your own cell phone to call you. Make sure that God is calling you to this here. Because when you're going to find out if God is calling you, let me tell you, people think when they get saved, your troubles are over with. No, indeed not. Your troubles has only just begun. Job said, man born of a woman is of a few days, and those few days are full of trouble. Meaning that if you're a young person trying to establish a ministry, make sure it's on a strong foundation. That's what upholds a house. A strong foundation. No matter what winds come, no matter what winds blow, it cannot shake your foundation. You ever saw a hurricane or a storm when it come through, it tears everything that ain't nailed down. So when you on that foundation, you ain't worried about it. You know that foundation gonna be there and you can build again.
So let's talk about that. When we talk about foundation, because we're in a generation that everything is quick. Everything is quick. You can wake up one morning and you can say, oh, I'm going to do this right now. When you talk about foundation, what do you mean for those who may not know? What is the foundation?
Foundation is following the apostles' doctrine. What Paul and them went through. You know, when you read about Paul and them life, Paul and them, you know, when they try to buy this here, it's not for sale. You see, Paul and them, the life that they went through, the things that they endured. You remember Saul on the road to Damascus, you know, when God came down and shone the light upon him, the revelation, but he didn't understand. But he got the revelation through the Son, S-O-N, letting him know who. He said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm Jesus of Nazareth, whom thou persecuted." So Paul, remember, Paul was, you know, nobody could mention the name.
Yeah.
He didn't want you to do that. But that foundation, he just had to build. He wasn't building yet.
Yeah.
But once he built, nobody couldn't shake his faith. Because, you know, on the day of Pentecost, when the power of God came in the upper room and then the lower room, when the power went all through the building and filled all the souls that were in there, you got to realize that Peter stood up and said, "Hey, men and brother, these men are not drunk as you suppose. Being it's only the third hour of the day, ain't no liquor store open. Ain't nobody drunk as you suppose." So what he was letting them know, look where Peter came from. Look where Paul came from. Look at their lives and look at when God changed their life. Peter was a fisherman, avid fisherman. But look at how God, he said, "God, I toiled out here all night. We ain't caught nothing." He said, "Launch out into the deep. Go into the deep. Get those drug addicts. Get those people that nobody expected to get saved." You see?
Mm-hmm.
That's the people that a lot of people think ain't going to be saved. The last going to be first. The first going to be last. And I tell any young pastor that's building out there, make sure that you got a calling from God and you ain't call yourself.
I need somebody to type that
yourself.
I need somebody to type that one. Make sure God called you and you didn't call yourself. That's
because anybody can get your cell phone. Anybody could call himself on the cell phone. My thing is, I didn't know my calling. I had confirmations, but I want to make sure. He said, "Make sure your election, make sure it's sure." And my grandfather, ministers, all of them, I mean, back to back to back. You got a calling on your life. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I just brushed it off. "Oh, yeah, sir, you're right. I was way in Benton Harbor, Michigan when the pastor called me out, sitting down trying to duck. He said, 'Son, I'm talking to you.' I thought I said, that young man, he said, 'No, I'm talking to you.' And I said, 'Okay.' So I said, I didn't say, 'I guess I'm going to go ahead on, not God called me.' No, I still didn't trust it. Yeah. I went to Tickfall, Louisiana, and a young lady in the ministry called me out. Then I went to Needland, Texas. I got called out. So I said, my God, I said, I'm running. I'm doing like I'm doing the run. And I had to find out what a calling was, because this, you know, I thought this would people think preachers are. The big Rolls Royce, the big church, and a whole lot of people. That's not ministry. Ministry is when you got souls saved. When somebody can say, "I'm saved and sanctified," filled with it, then you're doing ministry. Anybody can fill up a house, but can you keep that house? You know what I'm saying? You got to learn to recognize.
Anybody can fill up a house, but can you keep that house? See, this is that wisdom that I'm praying that our generation receive, man. We gotta receive the jewels and the wisdom that y'all who have done it for so long, y'all done been through all that. Y'all didn't experience stuff. So now let's talk about some of the hardships that you had to face and overcome in your 49 years in this journey. So
okay, the hardships. My car was repossessed. I had a 1976 Lincoln Town car. The bank told me bring it in the next day. A Thursday night service, I let Donnie drop his grandmother home. He wound up hitting a culvert and total lost my car on the right side. He brought it home, parked it in the garage, in the yard, and he said, "Dad, I got in a little accident." I went outside. The driver's side was perfect. I said, "What's wreck there?" He said, "Dad, look the other side." It cut through the door, the fender, the back door, all the way to the back fender. It was cut. So I brought it in and I parked it at the bank. And the man came outside. He said, "Oh, yeah, I can get my money back on this." That's what he told me. So he walked around and said, "Oh, what happened?" I said, "Well, my son wrecked last night." He said, "Well, I can't do nothing with that." Yeah. So I said, "Well, so he said, well, I can't do nothing for you with this car." So I turned around and said, "Okay, I owe $3,500 on the car left to pay it out." They cut me a check to fix it for $3,800. So I brought the car back to him. He said, "I can't do nothing with it. I need the check also." So I said, "Well, wait a minute, hold up. What's my balance on the car?" He said, $35.98. I said, "Okay." I gave him the check. I got a car that's total loss. My brother came by my house. He said, "Hey, bro, I heard Donnie had an accident last night." I said, "Yeah, man, he total lost the car." He said, "Man, I got some people in Generator to fix that." Just like that. I said, "Okay." He said, "I'm going to church." He said, "Follow me, and I'm going to show you where they live." I went out there and I dropped the car. They took about an hour. It was two brothers. I'll never forget. It took about an hour to assess the damages. Now, this is God's truth. Man, them guys coming back to me after with their pad and say, "We could fix it. We could fix it for $700. Now, can you imagine? They fixed that car, dyed my vinyl top another blue, and my car was powder blue. Fixed all that, bondoed it, painted the whole car instead of one side, and I had a fresh painted new car. That was number one. Number two, they put my house up for shelf sale. It went up for shelf sale. I was in the newspaper. So I said, wow. I said, I'm serving God, and I say I'm about to lose my house. I already tried to take my car. So a guy we had met one time, we ministered to in Beaumont, Texas. He said, "I heard you're having a hardship." He said, "Go to Eckers drugstore Monday morning, and the FedEx truck gonna bring you something." They sent me some money, enough to take care of what I was missing on my house. So I was able to catch my house up. All of this happening in one time. Then I bought a bedroom set. They came to repossess it the next day because the bank denied me. So I said, okay. So I say, come get it. They never showed up. So I wound up paying the bed out. So all of this here going on while I'm serving God. You know, I'm not supposed to be going through this here. This is not supposed to be happening.
Right.
Somebody saying, well, if you don't manage your money right. No, it had nothing to do with money management. It had something to do with I'm up there taking care of God's house and not my house.
Yeah.
And guess what? In the end time, God say, since you took care of my house, I'm going to take care of your house. Today I own 3 houses. So what that tells you?
Yeah.
God say, I'm going to make a way out of no way.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
My next question. As a pastor, how do you have the endurance to walk with people through their life? How do you gain that patience in order to do that? To maintain them 49 years of
walk with who now?
With walking with people. How do you do that? Because you know, in our generation, you make me mad, you gone. We get into an argument, our generation, we'll throw you away in a second. How do you
I'm glad you brought that up. The same person you're looking at now is a changed man. My temper was so bad, I would take nothing off no one. You follow what I'm saying? I mean, my temper was it was bad. And that's the last thing I asked God to help me with was that temper. You know, because really, a lot of people don't know where I came from. I remember fighting maybe 3 times a week. You know what I'm saying? 3 times a week, serious. And my temper was so bad, I was uncontrollable. Put it like that. If I be in the club and somebody did me something, my mama used to tell me all the time, don't bring that gun with you where you're going. That's how bad it was. And my mama told me, she said, son, don't bring that gun with you. But they know I would use it. And I left it home. Yeah. You know, I left it home because I didn't, and I thank God for Sister Ann. Because when she knew the other side of me, that I'm zero tolerance with anybody.
Yeah.
I would invite the whole club outside to fight. I'd say, all y'all come outside. That's how I was. This is stupid and acting crazy wherever I went. You know? And I remember one time in New Orleans, I brought Sister Ann to see her auntie up in the Desire Project. And the guys were sitting down blocking the chair, the steps. I took their knees and moved them both aside and told Ann, go on up and don't look back. Don't worry about nothing. I got this. That's how it was. It didn't matter what city I was in. I was crazy, stupid, crazy. Put it like that. So I know that God is real. And that's why I had to go through all of that. So when I do get in ministry, I learn how to operate above foolishness. Above foolishness. You know, because I done had people done things. I mean, man, I to be honest with you, I mean, they almost had me. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm doing good. No, they almost had me. But I prayed.
Yeah.
I said, deliver me out of this here. I done had threats. One guy told me, come meet him halfway, which I didn't know what that was. Halfway where? You know what I'm saying? I'm saying, man, I ain't never had nobody tell me come meet them halfway. I'm coming all the way if I come. So I just thank God, you know, and that's how I grew up. I grew up like that.
Yeah.
I grew up to the point where my brother and them, they used to like to see me fight. They was enjoyed it, seemed like. And they was actually tell, man, you said something about your mama. And you know, this to fight. This, you know, and I got to the point I
what
liked
time it was.
Huh?
They knew what time it was.
Yeah, and God delivered me. You know what? All that went out the window, man.
So another question. First off, I want to say much honor and respect to Sister Cindy, your beautiful wife. I want to ask the question for those who are in marriage. You and Sister Ann did many years in marriage. What's some advice to sustain marriage when you're doing ministry and you're married? What's some advice you can give us for that? Because that's another hard thing that people face when it comes to ministry and marriage. How do you maintain?
Well, I tell you what, I had a very submissive wife. No matter how powerful she was in God, she was very submissive. You know, you got to remember, before I got saved, I didn't do nothing wrong. I was always right. You know what I'm saying? Before I got saved. So I brought that into my marriage, you know? I'm always right, no matter what. So I look at it and said, I had a wife that submitted to the man of God now. And we was able to sustain this ministry because of, and then speaking of Sister Cindy, man, I got on the porch. I was in my truck, fasting, seeking God. I said, Lord, I want to get married again, but I want a wife that's going to help me in the rest of my duration of this ministry. And man, did God send me somebody. I'm serious. I lied not to you. Sister Ann was a prophetess. She heard and spoke to God.
Yeah.
And she said before she passed, I heard a sister tell me that she said, if Pastor Donnie ever get married, make sure he marry a woman of God. That's what she said. I had no idea that God would call her home before me, because I always told God in my prayer, take me first. She way more valuable. And guess what God told me to say? All of you are valuable to me. That's what the Spirit spoke to me. He said, every one of you is valuable to me. And God sent me a woman of God just like I asked for. And I was sitting in my truck in the heat of the day, fasting, praying, seeking to God, furnishing my flesh, saying, I don't want to be out of order. I want to make sure that this is the order of God. Because Sister Ann was ordered in my life. Remember, I was engaged to other girls before I even married Sister Ann.
Yeah.
But that's who God orchestrated in my life. Somebody that would help me. You know, at that time, I wouldn't even think about church. I wouldn't even stop in the front of no church. The only time I went to church is for funerals and weddings.
Look, I know that story, Pastor. I know that story. Look,
church.
Look,
man.
You know Sister Brianna. Yeah. Yeah, I know that story, man. I know that story, man. Look, God knows exactly what we need, man. He knows what we need.
Yes, sir. I tell you, church was funerals and weddings, and then we had to hurry up and get out of here, you know. But God fixed it so He sent me somebody else that's church loving too. Man, I'm just happy, bro. The rest of the life that God gave me, I'm happy in it.
Yes, sir.
I'm happy in it.
Yes, sir. Look, any other advice you can give to us, just as a whole, just as a pastor, from the seat that you sit in, any advice you can give to all of us, period. What would you tell us all as a body of Christ?
As the body of Christ, the first thing we need to start, I don't know if we're doing it, need to start doing it, we need to have love one for another, no matter what. No matter our differences, we set that aside. You know what I'm saying? See, back in the day, when we had gangs going on in the city of Abbeville, you know, we had to set our differences aside and come together. Man, if these young men know how we war with shovels, can knives, rakes, whatever, we warred. The crosser track was fighting a rabbit here. This one was fighting the sticks. We was doing all of that. Don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, because we was doing all that. We had a gang fight one night, war broke out. And one of my friends had a shotgun, filled it up with rice pellets in it, and they were shooting the guys, you know, as they were running in the back and everywhere. Tore up the man garden and all that. And we would go back and like I said, the same people, incident happened one time. My little brother, a guy hit him with the whip in his face. Say, so my mother said, "What happened?" I mean, he was crying. So mama said, "What happened?" "Oh, he hit me in the face with the whip." So my mama said, "Don't you leave out here." I said, "I ain't going nowhere." Man, I went to his house, threw him through a plate glass window. You know what I'm saying? Brought my books in the lady house, told him, I said, "Is he here?" She said, "He in the study." I said, "Oh, yeah, that's why I came to study." She said, "Oh, that's nice. You want to study with him." I didn't go there to study. I went there. When he rolled in that chair, I kept him going through the window. You know what I'm saying? The police came home. I stayed in trouble with the police. I was always in trouble. You know what I'm saying? And even when the Vietnam War broke out, I had some friends who went to Vietnam. So when I went to register, I told the man, "I ain't going to Vietnam." He said, "Well, why?" I said, "First of all, I can't eat in a restaurant." And I was prejudiced. I had that spirit. I was prejudiced because I felt like, why should I go fight a war? Y'all don't want me in your kitchen. You don't want me to eat in your restaurant. You don't want me to do this. That was a problem. And God fixed it so I didn't go.
Yeah.
I didn't go. And when I saw my friends get killed in Vietnam, come back home in a box and all that, and then they buried them in Arlington. They buried them in a little regular graveyard.
Yeah.
You gave them the flag. That's all you got.
Yeah.
$250 in the flag. You know? So America, I was born here, but I stick with Jesus, man.
Yeah.
That's it. And I tell any young man that's coming up, love your wife. Love your wife like Christ loved the church, you know, and gave himself a ransom for it. He didn't die in vain for me. I want to make sure that I say, if I do anything, I want salvation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want salvation.
Pastor Donnie, man, it has been an honor, man. It has been an honor to break bread and talk with you. Look, I appreciate you giving up your time to share your story with us. Look, and like I said, I thank God for the grace on your life. Look, I honor and respect the grace on your life. 49 years is not a short period of time. Any man who has survived in anything for 49 years deserves some honor and respect, man.
Yes, indeed. And you know what, man, again, thank you so much for inviting me on your show. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You didn't even thinking about me. And I want to share something with you before you go. Y'all be rapping, but do you know the first original rapper? You're looking at it. I tell my son, I say, man, I'm the original rapper. You know, my kids used to laugh and say, "Daddy, can you rap it?" I hit a little thing for them, and they say, "Oh, okay, oh, that's pretty good."
What was your rap? What was your rap name, Pastor Donnie?
Oh man, Drip, man, Drip. Drip.
Oh man, I can't do it, man.
That was my handle. Drip, man, Drip.
Drip, man.
But I think I'm gonna tell you what, man. We are blessed. We are a blessed people
Yes, sir.
to have the word to go for. You know, the United States is doing a lot of crazy stuff, but thank God for those that are yet holding on, no matter what. Because there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world today. You know, these young men killing each other and all that. And, you know, we go out there every now and then and we witness to them and tell them, say, man, life is more precious than how y'all look at it and all that other stuff. But I just thank God, you know, we bring the rap into the church. You know, at one time, you know, we like rap and all that, it had died out, but then it's starting to come back.
Yeah.
You know, the poems and stuff like what you be doing and stuff like that, that's all coming back.
Yeah.
Remember that originated in the cane field.
Yeah.
That's where it came from. You know, a lot of people didn't realize go down Moses, tell old Pharaoh, let my people go.
Yeah.
Man, that was back in the day. And all this stuff is coming back. And we're here yet to see these young people that God is raising up. You watch. See, we're going to roll on one day.
And look, I got one more question for you. What is your best advice for us to bridge the gap with the younger and the older generation?
I think we need to show them that they're important too. Show them the importance. That's the future church, man. If we don't instill in them what they need for the future church, that would not be a future church. We got to instill in them what we got. Don't hide it. If they like it, good. If they don't, good. It does not matter. But instill it in them and say, this is a... See, I don't know if you know it or not, but we opened up a building, a coffee shop called Front Porch. Come visit us one day on the church property. We call it Front Porch. Reason why I say Front Porch, this is where the old people used to sit on the porch and tell the young people the do's and don'ts. And that's what we do. I tell people, it ain't no argument. No, it's about instilling in y'all the things that we once learned to give it to you. Because you say, train up the child. If you train him up and let him know what's going on, when he get older, he won't stray away from it. He gonna always remember. Yeah. And that's what I say. Let them know they're important. You know, we just raised back up our kids back at the church. We just told them we got a little building. We gave them a teenage center that they could do things in. Make them feel important. Give them something. Give them some incentive to keep on. We go, sometimes we go, if they take a vacation, we go with them to the beach. Let them know it's Pastor, you know how to swim? Yeah, I know. I've been know how to swim since I was 11 years old. But at the same time, just let them know. Get out there. I used to play football with them, basketball with them, baseball with them. But I want somebody else to take and get in there and do the same thing instead of just sitting back. Oh, we don't want to know these kids. They don't want to learn that. No, instill in them some type of incentive to make them interested in what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, my grandson, he told me, say, I want to be a preacher. That was good to hear. He ain't but 6 years old.
Wow.
You don't hear kids these days saying they want to preach.
No.
Let them go.
Y'all heard that? I want y'all to show Pastor Donnie some love for coming on a mile in my shoes and walking us with us, man. Show him some love for coming on a mile in my shoes and walking with us, man. It says it was a blessing walking your mile with you. What a mighty God we serve. May God continue to bless you, your family, and church family. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Look, we appreciate you, Pastor Donnie, the wisdom and all that you have poured for all these years. Look, I got my notepad. I was taking notes, man. I'm going to receive all that information that you shared with us. Look, on how to sustain for these 49 years. You already know throughout the years, me and you have had our own personal conversations. If you ever need me, you already know I'm coming head first, man. Look.
Yes, sir. I know that. I know that. And if you need me, I'm there.
Shay said, this blessed me. Much respect to Pastor Donnie. Yes, indeed, man. Roger Hill says, blessings, Pastor Donnie Bolden Sr. himself, a.k.a. Drip in the building, man.
Yes, indeed.
See, a lot of people don't know Pastor Donnie is a whole comedian out here. If you don't know that, then you don't know. If you don't know that, then you don't know him, man. Pastor Donnie got jokes for days, man.
Yes, we did it. You know, we did it, man. I love when my kids, we get together and we tease each other, you know. And you know, coming up, you know, we was cracking jokes with each other and everything, and just laughable family, man. You know, they enjoy your family. You know, that's all you got.
Yeah,
I enjoy my family. You know, when our kids, when we get together, go somewhere, they laugh at me because I don't eat certain foods. So they be laughing to my daddy ain't gonna eat that. I say, man, you just don't know. I'm eating it now. You know what I'm saying? I done changed.
Look, man. Patricia Will says, blessings to you, Pastor Donnie. You got love in the building, Pastor Donnie. You got love in the building. And look,
praise God. I could use it.
Look, tell Sister Cindy I appreciate her for allowing you to share your time with us. I ain't gonna hold you no more on this Sunday. Get back to your family. Look, we love y'all. And like I said, Pastor Donnie, if you need me, you already know I'm right there. Give me a call. We love you, and we thank you for all that you have done. And look, y'all, keep God first. Make sure your foundation is straight. And make sure God called you and you didn't call yourself, man.
That's true.
I took my notes, Pastor Donnie. Look, we love y'all, and we going, y'all. Thank y'all for joining us on A Mile in My Shoes with Pastor Donnie, man.
Yeah.
Life gets tough, said you gotta keep fighting. And even though it gets hard, you gotta keep striving. Through the fears and the loss, but the tears won't turn off. No, he hears your heart's cry.
To my queens, I see y'all in a different way. It's more to y'all than posing pictures on your Facebook page. God giving power to uplift a man and make a slave. Speak life into our dreams, or tear us down and watch us fade away. Know your position, cause you're vital to the family structure. No replacing any mother. Careful how you treating love. Elegant, heaven sent etiquette is like no other. Her love is better than buttered biscuits right out the oven. Know who you are, don't let this world define. Shape or mold you, God's daughter, queen of nations. There's no box to ever hold you. Life creator, who protector, heaven sent. Love injector, backbone, best gift ever. Worth more than hidden treasure. I speak life, cause this world is trying to turn you cold. Replace that heart of stone with flesh. We need your love to make us whole. Take back your crown and hold us down. Together, we won't fold. Get back to love how God intended. Change to make this family.
Even though this life